Welcome to Above Par. I'm your host, Kathy Hartwood. I show you how to take more of your talent to the golf course without practicing harder, taking more lessons, or buying new equipment. I show you how to end the frustration of underperforming so you can start playing to your potential. This is where you are going to learn how to think above par so you can play below par. Let's get to it. Hello, my golf friend. Welcome back to Think Above Par. I'm super happy you're here and listening and sharing the podcast with your friends. I really do appreciate it. Or even leaving a review. I hear that's really helpful. It's so funny. I'm like so clueless on all this podcast stuff. I'm getting better at it though. But anyway, I wanted to give a shout out to one of my clients who I worked with a while ago. And we just stay in touch every once in a while through texting, Chuck. And he sent me a text and he said, Kathy, I hope you're well. Just wanted to let you know I think about you and your teachings all the time. I try to let myself have grace regardless of the results. Drop my handicap 4 strokes in 4 months. That's awesome golf. Good for you. But he said, after that, he said, I do have one fatal flaw. If I'm having a good round and one of my playing partners says, you're playing good today, I implode automatically. Then he says, not sure why they are so clueless of my fragile ego. Okay. And I said, thank you for a podcast idea because that's fabulous. And I'm sure some of you can relate to that where someone brings up your score or how well you're doing or points out that maybe this might be the lowest round ever, or you might break a barrier that you've been struggling with. Can you relate to that? Have you had that happen to you where you're not thinking about your score, but somebody in your group is actually thinking about your score and then they bring it to your attention and then you don't play so well? All right. So let's break that down. I want to share with you a little bit about what's happening if this is for you. First off, the words that people say are neutral, right? They are neither good nor bad, positive or negative until you have a story about it. They just said words as a fact. Now, the problem on the golf course when people say words is you can't unhear it, right? Actually, this is a funny story. I was playing golf with a couple friend of mine, and his name was Jerry. His name is still Jerry. I just don't play golf with Jerry anymore. Jerry would have a tendency to stand on a tee box and say, oh yeah, I hit it out of bounds here yesterday. All right, you're up. Your turn to hit. And I would look at him and I was like, maybe he just wasn't really super aware or knows what he's doing, but he's a good golfer and very competitive. And he kept doing it and stating out some of the trouble, or he would state your score. And he was doing it to get in my head, right? And I called him out. I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, why should it matter? I said, it does matter because you can't unhear what people say, right? You can't unhear. If you say there's out of bounds up there and you hit it out of bounds, my mind will go to the out of bounds. Now, of course, he wanted me to go there because he was competing against me. It's just bad sportsmanship, but we can't unhear what people say. And the people that you play with are either going to be really aware of what they're saying to you, and then it's coming from a bad place, or they're not aware of the impact that they're having on you. They feel like they're just stating the weather. And in this case for Chuck, I feel like these people, their friends, were like just stating the weather. It's like a compliment. You're playing so well. Unless, Chuck, I'm going to say you keep playing with them and they notice that you don't play well after they say that, and you have a match going on, then I'd start maybe being a little suspicious about their motives. But first things first is people are going to say inappropriate things on the golf course that get in your head and that you cannot unhear, whether it's about your score or whether it's about there's out of bounds up there or there's water or don't hit it over the green. You're dead if you go over the green. Then what it does is it puts your mind focusing on the thing that they might have said don't do, or it has you focusing in this case with Chuck about his score. So now your mind is thinking about the thing. Again, not a problem unless you have a story about it. So the question is, what's your story about it? So in this case, if he implodes, most likely what I said to him is you have a sentence, right? You have a thought about it. And typically the thought is, don't screw up. I didn't know how well I was playing. It could be a sentence in there that you don't even know that you have, that I typically don't put a good round together. It might reveal some of your thoughts. It's so important for you to pay attention to what are you thinking at those moments when those people say the words that then creates the result after that that you do not want. That's where you get to shift. That's where your power comes in. So I want you to be in a position that no matter what people say to you, you get to think what you want about it versus feeling like you're at the effect of people's words, even though, like I said, we can't unhear them. So let me give you an example or play this out. So Chuck's playing along really well. He's having a great day. That's their opinion. I'm sure if he's playing with these guys a lot, they probably are on point. If it's somebody you've never played with, it might not be a great day for you. That could be insulting. I've gone out and played with people who are not at the same level as me, and it looks great to them. They would take my game in a heartbeat. And for me, it was a horrible day. I really had a horrible ball striking day. And they said, gosh, you play so well. I'm like, I just made 7 bogeys in a row. It's like, it's not great, but they would take it. So it is relative. So sometimes the person can be coming at it very innocently. So get curious about what your thought is about the words that these people are saying. I put into context a lot of different scenarios because you do have to take the source into consideration. So for instance, Kira, who is from Ireland, and she's in your Mental Caddy membership, and she shared the story, which a lot of people in the community have, that it bugs them when someone asks what their score is after the hole. Like every hole, what'd you shoot there? And they write it down. What was your score? And that can be very bothersome. And for her, when people asked her the score, it got in her head and she started thinking about her score. Can you relate to this? This is not too different than what Chuck just said. So I've coached Kira quite a bit on how to reframe that and what to think about it and what actually you're making it mean when someone asks you what your score is and then you have lots of thoughts about it. So then this was really funny. She was on a call and she said she was playing with somebody who was a new golfer, and they go through, in England, I guess what's called the academy. And so she was fresh out of the academy and they train them like they're robots or something, but they teach them how to ask what the score was on the green. And so this woman who was very new to golf kept asking, what did you have there? And this kind of triggered Kira and this little mental challenge that she had. And she realized that this woman's motive was very innocent. So she witnessed her brain. She understood the source. She realized how she was habitually getting triggered by this over and over again. And then on the 5th hole, she said, I was cured. She goes, it did not bother me anymore. She said, I started laughing. It became funny. It no longer bothered her that this person asked her what her score was. I mentioned to her that that's habituation, where we go and we do something over and over again. We become a little bit immune to it. It's like watching a scary movie over and over again. Like Jaws was the example that I gave. Back in the day when Jaws came out, I was very young. And my brother, who's a little younger than I am, he was afraid to sit on a toilet after watching Jaws. He thought for sure there was a shark was going to come through the toilet. He didn't go swim in a lake, I think, for a decade. It's like, Dudley, sharks do not live in lakes. He's like, I'm not going swimming in water. That movie scarred us for sure for a long time. Now you watch Jaws, right? Because you've watched it over and over again. You can basically see the bolts in the shark's mouth, right? You can see how not realistic it actually is, so that you become a little immune to it, habituated to it. Right. So this is what happened to Kira, is that she just heard it over and over again, that it became not a big thing because it happened every single hole from a source, from a person who just was doing it very innocently. So there was no meaning behind it, where before she had been creating a lot of meaning to it about herself and her score. And she got thinking about what it was going to be at the end of 18. And then she became preoccupied with it. And then she didn't play her best. Okay, so back to Chuck. So someone asks you, while you're playing really well today, it's kind of the same thing, but on a big picture, a final score. So then the question is, what are you making it mean about you, about the other people in the group? Are you worried what they're going to be thinking about you? Is it going to be a great round for you and you want to feel really great about posting a score? Did you change how you got there to that moment? Let's say this was on 16. You played 16 holes great. And now the last few holes, now you're not doing the same thing because now your brain is focused on the results. Now you're trying not to make mistakes. Now you're putting pressure on yourself. And all of a sudden, this is why we implode. You stop doing what was working. And what I encourage you all to do is witness your brain in those moments, pivoting to something that you're doing that you weren't doing before. Whatever it is, the words that people say to you, whether it's telling you where the trouble is, whether it's asking you what your score was on that hole, or announcing, wow, you're playing great today, and you still have 4 or 5 holes left to play. Witness your brain. What is your brain telling you? Because that's your work. The sentences that pop up in your head, don't screw up, keep it going. Witness how you shift from changing what you were doing and what was working and where your brain went, right? And it's not a big deal if your brain goes there temporarily. Your skill that I want you to really have is to pivot back. Pivot back to being calm, certain, and confident over that shot. Make the words that people say neutral. This is your power. This is where you take back the power. You're giving the power to the person who says the words. And if that person knows that they can control you with their words and they are competing against you, just like Jerry, they will do it. Jerry brought the attention of trouble to so many people in his competition that he thought it was a useful tactic until I called him out on it. But it was useful because he knew that he could get in people's heads. You don't want to give away your power like that, right? You want to manage your mind on the golf course. You don't want to have Jerry or some beginning golfer or 3 dudes you're playing with every week manage your mind. Don't give them the reins. Don't give them the wheel. You can witness your brain going there, but just bring it back. Decide what you want to think and get yourself back into a place where you can swing freely as many times as you have to until you finish that round. All right, my friends, the words people say, we can't unhear them, but they are neutral. All right, have a beautiful week, and I'll talk to you next Wednesday. Bye.